Hello, folks, and welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. As most people know by now, an IRS supervisor has told lawmakers he has information that the Biden administration is improperly handling the criminal investigation into President Biden's son, Hunter. And this IRS supervisor is seeking whistleblower protection, probably from Chairman Jason Smith's Ways and Means Committee, since it's a tax matter, or so we think. The whistleblower also claims to have information that would contradict sworn testimony by a, quote, senior political appointee who allegedly provided, quote, preferential treatment for Hunter Biden. Now, many people believe that senior official is Attorney General Merrick Garland, who it has been alleged has told Biden-appointed U.S. attorneys in different parts of the country not to cooperate with the U.S. attorney in Delaware, Mr. David Weiss. Now, as we know, the Delaware grand jury has been going on for 5 years, presumably investigating an illegal gun rap and some kind of tax evasion offenses. This stuff should have been settled in 10 minutes. In fact, if the guy's name was Trump, or even for that matter, Smith, but not Biden, it would have been settled in 10 minutes. And Hunter Biden would have been busted. There's probably an obstruction of justice charge someplace in there, and there may be more. But there's more to this story that makes it so shady, or, you know, even better, sleazy. That's the word I'm looking for, folks, sleazy. Former CIA Deputy Director Mike Morell just testified in front of Chairman Jim Jordan's Judiciary Committee about the Hunter Biden laptop fiasco, where the Biden campaign got 51 former high intelligence officers to sign a letter saying there was no truth to the New York Post story and that it was a Russian disinformation operation. Now, this is a former deputy director of the CIA who helped quarterback this letter, Morell, which has been disproved now over and over by recent evidence. And, of course, the intel big shots are all running for the hills. They won't admit they were lying to elect Biden over Trump. But behind Morell, it turns out, is Antony Blinken, who is the current Secretary of State. He was the real quarterback. He was the real driver of this lying letter, which was all put up so Joe Biden could lie in the second debate against President Trump about the Hunter Biden laptop and the illegal influence peddling, money payoffs from foreign business people to the Biden crime family. In other words, our Secretary of State was behind this criminal enterprise. Whether it's legally criminal or not, I'm calling it criminal. Why? Because this is the kind of low politics that is so characteristic of the senior people in the Biden administration, and indeed the Biden White House. Morell, of course, wanted to be CIA director, but he didn't get the job. Blinken, of course, is the senior-most cabinet position in the U.S. government. He got the job. Now, there's another name I want to add, and that is Jake Sullivan. Now, he has a huge job as National Security Advisor. Now, I do not know if Mr. Sullivan was involved in this lying letter of the 51 intel people. I suspect he was, but I do not know factually. However, I do know that Mr. Sullivan was one of the leading retailers of Hillary Clinton's phony Russian hoax Steele dossier charge that plagued Donald Trump during the campaign and his presidency. Mr. Sullivan was selling that bit of phony business as hard as he could back in 2016, and now he resurfaces as National Security Advisor in the Biden administration. I will leave it there. But my biggest point here is that political hacks should not be at the senior-most level of the government. The most important agencies, state, defense, justice, and treasury, should be peopled by experts with sterling reputations. Now, Mr. Blinken is neither an expert nor has a sterling reputation. He engaged in the worst sort of lying politics. Call it what it is. Blinken operated a dirty tricks operation. And this sort of behavior and the fact that he was appointed to such a senior position not only diminishes his office, but diminishes the entire Biden presidency. And unfortunately for America, our senior diplomat, Blinken, has been, by nearly all accounts, an incredibly ineffectual foreign policy maker. Now, you just think about that. You think Mike Pompeo would have organized the Lion letter for cheap political reasons? You think George Shultz would have? You think Henry Kissinger would have? No, they didn't, and they wouldn't. Now, I will say, having served in 2 administrations, I know there are political people in the White House. I know there are campaign people, but they're not running the most important agencies. The policy game is completely different from the frequently dirty tricks political game. And here, in this crazy Hunter Biden business, which I believe will ultimately directly involve his father, the president, here we have the Secretary of State Blinken and the Attorney General Garland under high suspicion for engaging in what amounts to political dirty tricks. That is not the honorable, high-calling U.S. government that I know of. I'll just say, save America, drain the swamp. And that's all I've got.